Yeah, hi guys, good morning. In today's session, we'll discuss a few important commands related to Docker, as well as we'll focus on Docker file as well. I mean, from where we are able to get all the images, right? So, how that image is getting created, what is the process behind it, and how to store all our images in the remote repositories. Okay, so let me share my screen. Guys, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, right. So this is my server where I have installed Docker hyphen version. So we can see the Docker version which is installed in my machine, right? So now I just want to pull one Docker image. For example, how to pull one image from central repository? I mean from Docker Hub registry. Which command should we use?
Docker pull.
Docker
Docker
pull.
pull. Docker pull.
Docker pull and then image name, right?
Image name.
Okay. HTTP. So what will happen? It will try to connect and then it will try to download. But here I'm seeing one error. Why?
Think Docker service is not running.
Already image is running.
Docker?
Service is not running. Need to
Yes.
start.
So if you'll see the status Docker, then we can see that Docker service is inactive. Means if the service is not running, then we can expect this kind of error. So always read for the error message. Is the Docker daemon running? So we need to check if the service is running or not. So let me first start the service. Start up. Status Docker. Okay, the service is up. Now up and running. Okay. So if I'll use Docker images, what will happen?
Show
Will
the
show
list
all
of
the
images.
images.
It will show the list of images. Okay. If I want to see the running containers,
Docker container PS running containers. PS hyphen A for all the containers.
Docker container PS for running containers, Docker container
Container
PS
PS
FNA for
hyphen A.
running as well as exited.
Existing containers.
Okay. So now let me run couple of containers. Okay. So Docker container run hyphen ITD and then Ubuntu. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to run one container with the image called Ubuntu, right? So why are we using hyphen ITD parameter? What do you mean by hyphen ITD?
Interactive terminal detach in foreground.
Run in background
D
in
means background or okay. So you can also say as detached mode as well. Okay, hyphen IT means interactive terminal. So what will happen if I not use hyphen IT? What will happen if I not use hyphen IT? Nothing will happen. No. D is for background, right? So if you not use hyphen IT, nothing will happen. But when you are trying to connect, right? I mean, for example, I want to connect to this container. So how should I connect?
Docker container execute.
Docker container by using exec command. And hyphen IT means it will help us to get one terminal as well. For example, if I'm not using hyphen IT and fd9 slash bash is not available bin dot bash. Okay, see something happened, but we are not able to see anything. Means when I have executed this same command by using bash shell, something got executed, but we are unable to see anything. Same command, let me use hyphen IT. Now see what happened. We are inside the container means we are able to get the interactive terminal to interact with. Understood the difference? Why should we use hyphen IT? This will be asked in interviews for sure. They'll try to manipulate this question. What will happen if I will not use hyphen IT? You will not be able to see anything. This is what happened when I have executed without -80. You'll not be able to see what is happening inside the container or whether you have connected or not. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So now let me run couple of more containers. Docker container. Let me use a Ubuntu only. Let me run one more container. Let me run one more container. Okay, Docker container PS. So how many containers are there now? How many containers are there?
3 containers.
Three containers. So I want to stop this container.
Docker container.
Docker container stop
Stop container ID.
and then container ID. My terminal got stuck. Not sure why. Okay, one container has been stopped. Docker container PS. We can see only two containers. So stop command will help you to stop your container. How to see the stop containers and running containers? -a parameter. You can see the status as exited. Means how many different type of status are available here? One is up and running. One is exited. One we can expect restart. One we can expect starting. So there are different type of status in Docker containers as well. Okay. So now Docker container PS, we can see two containers are running. Docker container kill and then container ID. What will happen? Check the status. We have stopped this particular container, this one, 4 seconds ago.
For both stop and kill, you have used those.
Yeah, so if you want to stop, I mean, you can use kill or stop. Better always go for stop because stop will help you to smoothly shut down all the services, right? Okay, so we can also use kill command and then container ID. Always remember that we should use container IDs and image IDs. Okay, so now how many containers are left? Docker container PS. Docker container PS. We have one container which is running. So now let me stop this container as well. Docker container stop and then paste. This is taking couple of seconds to stop because it will stop all the services and then it will shut down your container. See, if I execute Docker container again PSFNA, we can see 3 containers are being stopped. Now I want to restart this particular container. Means I want to start my container which is in stop mode.
Docker container start.
How can we do that? How can we restart the paused container?
Docker container
Container
restart or start and container ID.
restart and
Container ID.
container you want to resume again. Okay, now if I use Docker container PS, then we can see one container is again started. This has been created 3 minutes ago, but started 3 seconds ago. Okay, now for example, Docker container PS -a, sorry, Docker container PS -a. Okay, we have two exited containers. For example, assume that we have 100 exited containers and these containers are taking some space. I want to delete these containers because I don't want to see anything here. I want to remove everything. I want to clean up some space. How can I do that?
Docker container rm-f then container ID,
Docker container rm.
-f,
-f is for forceful.
forcefully.
If something is not working, then you can use -f parameter always. Okay, rm and then container id. I can use container id. But for example, if you have 100 containers, then I don't want to execute the same command 100 times, right? So it's a lot of manual work. Do we have any other alternate option for this?
We can use
This will be asked in interview for sure. Which command is used to delete multiple containers or multiple images as well? We can use docker container prune. So what will happen? Prune command, what it will do? See, this will remove all stopped containers. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. Okay, docker container ps -a. But still nothing happened. It said that it will be deleting everything, but it did delete it, because if you will see, number of space we have reclaimed is 0 bytes. No, so we should use docker prune -all -all. No, even this is not working. Parameter, I guess -f. Okay, -f will help us to delete all the stopped container. See, 5 bytes has been reclaimed. Now if I'll execute docker container ps-a, we can see all the exited containers have been deleted. So how to delete multiple containers at the same time, multiple containers or multiple images, with the help of prune command. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, right? Now I want to delete this running container. Even this will be asked. I want to delete the running container. Means this is one running container, right? I want to delete this container. So how can I delete this? Can I
Yes, we
use
have to
docker
stop.
container rm and then container ready? Will this work? Rm is used to delete the container, right? Prune is to multiple containers. Rm is to single container. Hit enter. Let us see what will happen. See, you cannot remove a running container. Stop the container before attempting removal or force remove. Means you should always stop this container first and then only you can remove. You cannot remove the running container. Okay. They will try to twist these questions. How to delete running containers.
-f use చేయొచ్చు సార్.
Change if we can use. It will do a lot of stuff for us, but that's not something what we are expecting, right? Okay, so and then whenever I'm trying to use docker pull, what is happening? It is trying to connect to the central repository, right? And downloading our image. Now I want to download my Tomcat image. Docker pull Tomcat and the latest image. So what it did, it went to the Docker Hub, it checked the repository called Tomcat and then the tag called latest, and it is trying to pull that specific image for us. Okay, Docker images. You can see there is one image called Tomcat. This has been created 5 hours ago, means today they have been updated that image. Okay, the size is 455 MB. Okay, now let me run one container out of this image, and this container should be exposed to a specific port number. Which command should we use? Docker చెప్పండి
container run
कंटेनर रन. सब लोग
-d
पार्टिसिपेट करे तो थोड़ा
-p
मजा भी आता काम करने में. कई बार आधे से ज्यादा
-d
-p
-8080 colon 8080
8080 and then Tomcat
and then Tomcat colon
latest.
latest. Okay, so what is this 8080?
port number
Which port number?
use a port number mapped to the application port.
This is,
instance container port.
yeah, so this is container port This is host port. Host or instance means host in the sense wherever you have installed your Docker, that we called as host machine. That can be considered as host port or instance port. Whatever is convenient to you, you can try to map with it. Okay, so I'm telling my Docker to run one container by using this image, and this container should be run in the background, and this should be exposed on port number 8080 and map with the container port number 8080. So now let me hit enter. So what happened? One container has been created. Okay, Docker PS, I can see that one container has been created and this has been exposed. And the name of this container is update underscore Euclid something. Okay, this is the default naming conventions what it tried to attach. If you want to change, we can use -- name parameter, right? So now I want to access this container. So how can I access? With the help of public IP and then
And port number.
port number 8080. 404. What do you mean by error code 404?
Not
Is
found.
not found.
Service.
Why it is not accessing?
Service is
No, it is accessing
Simple
the
dot
page itself.
simple dot
It
what?
is accessing means my container is up and running only. If you see this, the status is up and running. See, container, sorry, Docker PS about a minute ago, but there is no default deployment file. That's the reason it is throwing 404. There is no default deployment file. Earlier, when we used to do the traditional download, right, traditional installation, then there was a default deployment file. That's the reason we used to see the Tomcat page. But inside this container, there is no default deployment file. That's the reason we are able to see 404. This doesn't mean that it is an error. It is running. You can see here Apache Tomcat, which version this is, 10.1.19. Remember the version of your softwares as well. I mean, Docker, which version you have used. This might be asked in interviews. We can also expect such kind of questions. Okay, so what's the status code? 404 means not found. 400 means
Bad
Bad
request.
request.
200 means
Okay.
success or okay. So try to remember status code. We have the status code in our Q&A book as well, right? So try to refer them. Okay, always remember 2 points. So 400 means client side error. 500 means server side error. Okay, so we are able to see 404, which because there is no default deployment file here. Now I want to connect this. I want to connect to this container and I want to deploy one default. I mean one sample application, whether it is our created or already available. So how to connect to the container?
Docker container exec hyphen it
ID,
I
container ID /bin/sh.
dash.
Yeah, we can use either shell or bash shell, whichever is available we can use. Okay, so let me use bash. Okay, so now here you can see what is our default location. PWD user local Tomcat. The moment I have logged into the container, I can see the default location, means this is where I am stepping in. Sorry. Okay, so the moment I'm trying to log into the container, I can see the default deployment, I mean default directory or the default my current location is user local Tomcat inside this container, and the default user I'm using is root user. Okay, let me exit. Let me go out of this. So who is deciding this? I mean, where did we configure this? How does our image know that this should be our default location? I want to know the details because I haven't created this image. I have just used the image which is available in the Docker Hub. I want to know the details.
Docker inspect.
Docker inspect and then
Container.
image name. Image ID or name of the image. Oh, I want to inspect image because in image only we have these details, and the same will be reflected in the container.
Okay.
Okay, I have inspected that image. Here if you'll see working directory, user local tomcat means in image we have specified one parameter called working directory, and in this working directory this is the default location. That's the reason we are able to see user local tomcat as my current location, not deployment, my current location. Okay, so this is how they have configured that once the user try to log in, he should be able to see this path. Okay, so what is working DAR, what is volume, what is this? We'll try to discuss after some time. But for now, understand one thing, that because of these parameters, we are able to see these locations as our current location. Okay, now let me try to log in again. This is our current location. Now if I'll do ls, we have something called web apps. So let me go to my web apps, because web apps is the deployment location, right? So here we don't have anything for now. Do we have anything here? No, that's the reason we can see not found. Sample deployment file. So let me deploy one sample deployment file. Sorry, sample var file. Okay, I'm just trying to deploy one var file which is already available in the internet. Okay, so duplicate and then paste, hit enter. So what happened? It downloaded one deployment location. If I'll do ls, it should be extracted. This will get extracted. Okay, let me try to access this on browser. Say hello world application is available. This is how we are going to deploy. I mean, even if it is your regular EC2 instance, whether it is your container, we need to deploy in web apps only. End of the day, whatever application you are using, Java based applications, we will be using Tomcat to deploy your application. Okay, so whether you are deploying in EC2 or you are deploying in your container, process is almost same. There is no change in the deployment. Okay, so now what happened? We were able to successfully deploy our application. Okay, so Docker container PS, we can see this is up and running. We have deployed the application successfully. Sorry, one second. Yeah, sorry. So we have deployed our application successfully. Tomcat application is deployed. Everything is good now. Whatever we wanted to do, right? We wanted to connect, deploy, everything is well and good. I just want to check the logs. I mean, I want to see what is happening inside my container. Assume that the status of your container is not running. Something happened and it got failed. How will you troubleshoot this? For example, let me rephrase my question. Okay, for example, you are working on your application that is a containerized application. You can see that all of a sudden your container is not running. How will you troubleshoot this? This similar questions you might get in interviews.
First, we will check logs of a container.
Yeah,
Then
so always remember that the first thing what we need to do is we need to check for the logs of the container. If suppose this container is not running, so what I will do, I will use Docker container logs and then container ID. So what will happen? Without checking logs, you cannot troubleshoot anything. If you get the logs, then in logs you can see there will be some error messages which are printing in the logs. Then only Based upon these error messages, you can get one direction what needs to be done. Always talk about logs, whether it is your regular EC2, whether it is related to your monitoring dashboard, or whether it is related to your container. The first thing is we will try to check for the logs. For example, you got one email from your developer that your container is not running. Please try to check and fix that container. I'm seeing he will tell us that he is seeing issues. So what you will expect from him? What counter questions you will be asking him? You are from operations team. You got one message from developer that so and so container is not running. Please check. So what you will be asking?
What error you are getting?
What is the
Logs of
error code?
container.
What is the error? Now remember few points. Always we should ask for what is the error. Do we have any screenshot? What is the timestamp? Because here see there is lot of timestamp, right? So we cannot just blindly go with all the logs. If you'll tell that 641, then you can focus on 641 logs only. I mean at this point of time only you can try to check. It will help you to ease your task. That's the reason if someone is asking notes in Slack, right, I will be asking to share the screenshot, because being a technical person, it will be very easy for you to understand if you see the screenshot. Okay, so we will ask them to share the screenshot if they have any screenshot. If they are aware of the timestamp at what particular time they have seen that issue, it will be easy for us to evaluate. Okay, so now Docker container logs F1 follow. What this will do, this will help us to maintain to the same page. Okay, means our cursor got stuck and we are able to, it's a kind of monitoring. Okay, it will still keep on rotating as per the changes. See, 641 was the last log. For example, if I am changing something here, right, 8080 not found, it should print this. 641 was the last one. Let me do one thing. Let me again execute this. Nothing printed. Raja. Okay, let me try to add one more one sample. Let me access this page. $641 is the last timestamp. Okay. User local tomcat web app sample dot bar. Let me do one thing. Let me just try to remove this and see what it is printing. Okay. So Docker exec, where is, yes, cd web apps rf star. What happened? We have deleted our deployment now, right? So now if I'm trying to access sample, nothing found because this deployment is deleted. Now if I try to execute the logs, let us see what it is printing now. 641 and then 648. This has been undeployed. So whatever is happening inside the container, it is trying to capture everything, not on the client side, not on the browser. Inside the container, it is trying to capture everything. So this will help you to get one understanding what is happening with our container. Okay, so now let me again connect to the container. Let me again deploy one sample application. Aggregate. I have deployed one sample application. If I try to access for cross check, yes, my application is up and running. So all of a sudden we have seen that our container is not healthy and it got failed or someone else has deleted. For example, Docker container PS. So this is in the running state, right? So someone, what happened? They came, they log in, Docker container up, and then they have stopped our Tomcat container. What they have did? They have stopped our Tomcat container. Now, if I'm trying to access my application, will it be accessible? Can I access my application once the container is stopped?
No.
No. Why?
Once container stop, then port number also will stop.
So
we
the
cannot.
service,
Running
the
services.
service was running has been stopped, so you will not be able to access anything. So what he has did, not only he stopped our container, also he has deleted the containers which has been stopped. Docker container rule F1F. So what he did, he has deleted the running container, stopped containers as well. Now if I am doing Docker container PS, nothing is there. Docker container PS-A, nothing is there. Means I have lost all the data which was available inside my container. My application was deployed inside my container. Since someone has stopped and deleted everything, I have lost all the data as well. Nothing is available now. So how to overcome such kind of situations? How to overcome such kind of situations? What should we do? If someone is deleting our container, what is happening? Our deployment files or our application is also getting deleted. For example, now if I am trying to run one more container, Docker container run -itd -p 8080 colon 8080 Tomcat colon latest, spelling mistake. Okay, so what is happening? I can see one more container is running now. Means I have created one more container. Okay, so now if I'll try to access this on port number 80, you can see our container is up and running, but there is no sample deployment file. Means our actual deployment file or our application is not available. We were able to create one new container successfully, but we were not able to get back the deployment files or all our data. So what is happening here? Whatever files we are creating inside the container is getting deleted. For example, this is my Tomcat container. Okay, and inside this container, what I have did, I have deployed my application called sample. Okay, so if something went wrong and if something went wrong and this container is deleted, what is happening? We are unable to access this application. So where is the sample available? Where is this application available? This application is available inside the container, and if this container is stopped or removed, then I am unable to access my application. I want some persistent volume for this. Persistent in the sense permanent storage. So we have one concept called Docker volumes. Why should we use Docker volumes? This will help you to store your persistent data, means permanent data. So what will happen now? So instead of configuring my volume inside, instead of saving my data inside this container, what I will do is I will create one volume. Okay, I will create one volume, and inside this volume I will deploy my application, that is sample. Okay, and this volume will be mapped to this container. Means if the user is this volume and this container is mapped together, where this volume will be created? This volume will be created. Where should we create this volume? In not container. Container lo create chestene kada, we are seeing that issues. So we will
Outside content.
create this volume in the EC2. EC2 in the sense Docker host. Docker host means where you have installed your Docker. We generally call it as Docker engine as well. Means the software which is running, right? We call it as Docker engine as well. So we save the data or we create the volumes in the Docker host machine. Okay. Now let's go on with. Now, if suppose something went, guys, go on with there. If something went wrong, okay, if something went wrong and this container is not accessible, so what is happening? Still, this volume is available. Okay, if so container is deleted, still this volume is available. So what I will do now? I will just create one more container. Okay, I'll just create one more container with same Tomcat image, and I will tell this container to map with this volume. So what will happen? This container will try to connect with this volume, and all the files which are already available inside this volume will be mapped with this container. So no need to do the deployment again and again. We might lose our container, but still our data is available. This is how we should configure in our projects as well. Okay. So in volumes, we have different type of volumes again. One is volume, one is file system, or we call as TMFS. Okay, means this will be in the same location, I mean in the same EC2 instance, and the default location will be varlib docker volumes. This will be created in this particular location only. In the file system, we can create anywhere in the machine, anywhere in the host machine, means where we have installed our volume. There is no difference in both of them. Okay, the only thing is if we are creating volume, okay, so it will be created in this particular location only. If you are using the volume type called file system, then it can be created anywhere in the host machine. Okay, so now apart from this, we have seen something else, right? So what I have said initially, for example, this is your container. We'll get more details about volumes in Kubernetes session because we have dedicated sessions for that. Okay, so Tomcat, this is my container, and inside this container only we have our application XYZ. Okay, so this kind of volume we called as EMP DAR, empty DAR. Means it is trying to store in the same container. This kind of volume, whatever we have used just now, is nothing but empty DAR volume type. Okay, if I'm trying to create in the same machine wherever my Docker is installed, we call it as volume. This is called as host volumes. Okay, understood this one? Shall I move with practical?
Yes.
Okay, now I want to create one volume because I want to deploy my application. I don't want to log in inside this container and set up, right? So first let me delete this container. I don't want any running containers. What happened? Timeout. Let me reconnect. Let me just stop this container. Docker container prone -f means I have deleted everything. I don't have any running containers or stop containers now. Clear? So now I want to create one volume. So how to create volume? If you'll see this, where lib docker volumes, so this will be the default location where we are going to create our volumes. Okay, now here can you see any volumes? As of now we can see only 2 files, right? So let me create one volume. How? Docker volume create and then volume name. You can also use docker create and then volume name, but always make sure you are using the parent command. These commands, I mean, we are using docker container, docker image, right? So that we call as parent commands. Okay, so docker volume create and then volume name. So let me use deployment as the volume name. So what happened now? You can see something happened. I mean, there is some output. Now I want to check the list of volumes. Docker volume ls. How many volumes are available? We are having only one volume, that is local, and name is deployment. If I'll do ls, you can see there is one volume called deployment has been created just now. cd deployment ls. Okay, then we have one default directory data and pwd. This is my current location, and ls, as of now there is no files inside this volume. Now what I will do, I will just deploy one application wget download here, copy link address, paste. Okay, so what I have did, I have downloaded one sample application. This time where I have downloaded in the volume. Where is this volume attached or configured or created? In the host machine. This is not attached to any container yet. I have just created one volume and I have downloaded one sample application. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so now what I will do, I will now try to create one container. Docker run, docker container run -itd -p8080 colon 8080 and then tomcat colon latest. So what this command will do, this command will create one container, but this command is not, I mean, this container is not attached to any volume. We have what I said, we should map this volume to this container. We should tell our docker to attach this volume to the container or to the image, whatever container we are trying to create. So how to attach? We can use one more parameter -v and then the volume name. What is our volume name? Deployment. -v parameter can be used to attach volumes, and then the name of our volume, that is deployments colon to which particular location you want to map inside your container, which particular location you want to map. So where is our deployment location? User, I want the complete location. We have the default location, right? User share
User local
user local
Tomcat web apps.
tomcat web app means I am telling my container that whatever is inside this particular volume, try to store this or map with this particular location. Okay, and then the name of our image. If suppose you are not aware of this location, so how to get the location? By doing inspect. That's one thing what we can use, or else We can go to your Docker Hub registry. Guys, go on mute. You can go to your Docker Hub registry. Tomcat, open Tomcat, tags. This is the latest, right? So if you click here, then you can get lot of information. See here, you can see there are a lot of details. From here, you can see the deployment. See, user local Tomcat. And inside this Tomcat, we have our web apps. Even for example, if you are not able to understand with the help of these details, right? So try to first download one container, try to run one container manually and try to check the details. Okay, try to run one container and try to check the details. Okay, so now I am sure that okay, this is the exact location what I was looking for. Now let me run my container. Okay, so what I have did, I have created my container successfully and I have attached the volume as well. Now if you'll execute or inspect this container, right? Docker inspect and then container ID, you can see a lot of details. Sorry, command docker. Okay, if I'll scroll up, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up, you can see something called volumes. Here you can see this. See, type is volume because I have created this in the specific location, right? And the name of the volume what I have attached is deployment. The source is this particular location and this is the destination, means all the files which are available in this location will be mapped with this particular directory. So now what is available in this location? Sample.wire. So let me try to access. So this is my public IP because this IP is same. 8080 is also same. Now let me try to access. I haven't did any deployment, right? So I haven't logged into the container. I didn't made any changes. I haven't executed exec and all. What I have did, I have just mapped my volume to my container. Now let me refresh this page. See, we have our application deployed. Clear? For example, assume that Docker container PS, some idiot, what he did again, he came over here, he stopped the container again. Yeah. What he did, he stopped the container. Now,
Spelling mistake.
yeah, that worked for us. Docker container pro knife and even shit. After stopping, he deleted the container as well. Okay, so now we don't have any containers. Now we don't have any running containers. We don't have any exited containers. If I'll try to access, this is not accessible. Why? Because the container has been stopped. But if you'll see this location, pwd, I'm in the current location, ls, this file is available. Means our data is still available on the host machine. We have lost our container, but our data is available. So what I will do, I will try to create one more container, the same image. No need to do all the deployments and everything. I will just create one container. Okay, this time I just want to run on port number 81 so that I can show. Okay, and the same deployment location, same path. Hit enter. Okay, this is started. Now if I try to access my application on port number 81, you can see our application is accessible. So we have our persistent data, means even if our volume is deleted, still we have our our data is always there. Okay, now for example, I have created one more file. Okay, inside the sample.var only, I'm creating one file called, this is only for testing purpose, guys, just to show you this. Okay, touch created outside created outside the container means I have created one file which is outside the container means in the volume. Okay, so where I have created this file? I have created this file outside the container, right? Not inside the container, outside the container. So now let me try to access my container. Let me try to exec and see what is happening. Container it is eb4/bin/bash. Okay, I'm using iPhone ITD, right? So it is running in the background. That's what. Okay, bash. Okay, so what happened? Currently, I'm inside my container cd web apps, and if I'll do ls, here you can see that file created outside the container. The file whatever I have created on my EC2 inside the volume is getting inside this particular container. Now if I'll create something here, touch created inside the container. Okay, where I have created this file inside the container. Now if I'll do exit and if I'll do ls, this is my current location. Okay, and here you can see this file is also available outside the container. So what is happening now? Whatever it is trying to create inside the container will be stored in the volume, and whatever we are trying to create in the volume will be accessible inside the container as well, because we have mapped our container with this volume. Understood?
So volume and container having a synchronous
Your voice is not clear.
volume and container having a synchronous position, right?
Volume and container?
And continuously it's syncing data,
Yeah,
right?
it will map that particular volume available. So it will continuously sync. If you delete the volume, then you will lose the data. Okay, so this is how we can use volumes. Guys, clear?
Yes.
So where can we create the volume? How to check the volumes? Docker volume ls. If you want to delete one volume, for example, I have created one volume, Docker volume create test. Okay, I have just created this volume, but I haven't attached anywhere. Now I want to delete this volume. So how can we delete? Docker volume rm and then volume name. Done. If I do ls, that volume is not available. Okay, so this is how we can make use of volumes to store our persistent data. This will be asked in interviews that what will happen if your container is stopped. We need to answer them that we use persistent volumes, which will help us to store our data. So how will you map? With the help of -v parameter. There are different parameters as well. Go for -v. If you want, I mean, if you are familiar with another parameter, then you can talk about that as well. Okay, now, okay, we have seen a lot of stuff, right? I mean, we know that how can we create container, how to run container, how to connect, how to create volume and everything. We have something called Docker stats. Stats in the sense statistics kind of thing. Okay, so why do we use stats? For example, Docker stats. Let me execute this. What is happening now? Stats generally, even in our regular life, statistics, what it will help us to prove? It will help us to understand, right, the current situation, how much it is using, how much it is been consuming, where are we moving ahead in terms of this. Okay, Docker stats command will help you to get all the information. See, your CPU, your container, you can see this Docker container PS, Okay, EB49, right? So this is the name of your container. This is currently using 0.12% of your CPU. How much CPU do I have? How to check the details of CPU? You can see this, all the details. We have 1 core of CPU. Okay, so now what is happening? Out of this 1 core, okay, number starts. So out of these 4 is so it is using 0.11%, and then 74 MB memory it is using out of 1 GB, and percentage is 7. Network input output, this is something even I'm not sure. Block, I think input and output, that's something related. Okay, so with the help of stats command you can understand how much it is consuming. For example, you have 5 containers running. Okay, for example, you have 5 containers running. All that 5 containers are mandatory, means our application should be always accessible, and our application is deployed in 5 different containers. How will you understand how much capacity do we need? See, here we have only 1 GB of memory. Out of this it is using 74 as of now. I want to restrict my container, that my container should not use more than 100 MB. My container should not use more than 100 MB. I want to limit the size of container. Why? For example, if something went wrong inside this container, right? If something went wrong and it is trying to continuously run some services and trying to write something, so what will happen? The usage will be very high and it will try to use all the memory, and other containers will be slow. Our machine will get crashed. There will be slowness in the server. So I don't want such kind of situations. I want my container size should be limited, means this should not use 10% of my CPU and 100 MB of my memory. I should limit the usage of my container. As of now, there is no limit. That's the reason you can see as 952 MB. So I want to limit the usage of my CPU. So how can we do that? I want to restrict the usage. How should I do that? Any idea? Okay, let me run one container. Docker, same container. Okay, let me rerun one more container, Tomcat container. Where is the command? Docker container run. Okay, this one, right? So this time I'm trying to run on port number 80. 81 it is already running, so I'm trying to run one more container on port number 82 with the same deployment file. Okay, so what I will do, I will try to add one more parameter, -itd memory equal to 100 MB. Okay, I'm telling my container this container should be run on port number 82 with the specific volume by using this image, and the memory limit should be 100 MB only. Let me hit enter. One container is running again. Here you can see. Let me try to access the application on port number 82. Port number 82. Since the volume is attached, so deployment file will be available. Okay, this is attached, running. Now if I do docker stats, you can see 100 MB is limited. Beyond 100 MB, it cannot go. Means if something went beyond 100 MB, right? So this container will be stopped. That's how we can limit the usages. Okay, For example, let me run one more container on port number 83. This time, instead of 100, I will try to use 50 only, because here the minimum memory what it is consuming is beyond 70, right? So let me try to use 50 and see what will happen. Okay, so Docker container ps, sorry, Docker container ps. I can see, okay, see what happened. See, only 2 containers are running. 83 container, where it is. You can see that container ID has been created. So let me try to see -a if something got wrong with this. See, exited 19 seconds ago. Exited 19 seconds ago with error code 137. This is the same container, right? 2D122, 2D122. Let me check the logs of this container and see why it got failed. Docker container logs and then container ID. Here we cannot see anything. The only reason why it got failed is it needs minimum memory of more than 70 MB. Okay, so because the limit was restricted to 50, it was not able to get started. It will get killed or it will be exited. So that's how we can restrict the complete usages. Based upon this, you can decide how many containers you can run on your container. For example, this is using 73, right? I have restricted to 100 MB. Means I am in a safer side. Even if something went wrong, at least it can reach up to 100, or else I can make it for 150. Double the required memory. So that's how we try to manage the capacity. Means that's how we decide how many containers we can run on the particular machine, right? This concept we call as capacity planning. This will be done by the architects and all, but at least you should have an idea how much capacity or what type of instance we should use for our application. Based upon these metrics and all, we can try to calculate. Okay. Now we have very important concept, that is Docker file. Okay, we have something called Docker file. So from yesterday, what we have been doing, we have been running one container. From where we are creating container?
Docker host.
Docker. Even Docker host, we are using to create container, but this container is being getting created with the help of Docker image. Okay, right? With the help of Docker image, we were trying to create the container. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
ఎందుకే ఇవ్వు అనుకున్నారా ఎవరు మాట్లాడుతున్నారు? Okay, so from where we are creating image, sorry, from where we are creating container?
Docker image.
Docker image. From where we are getting that image?
Docker hub.docker.
Yeah. So can I create my own custom image?
Yes.
How? Whatever images we are seeing in Docker Hub registry, that is been created with the help of Docker file. Means from Docker file we create Docker image. From Docker image we create Docker container. What is a container? Container is running state of the Docker image, right? It is the actual or live state. What is Docker image? Docker image is nothing but set of instructions related to your container. And how this Docker image can be created with the help of Docker file. So what is available inside this Docker file now? What will be available inside this Docker file?
Configuration.
Also related to your Docker. So let me just yes, I will share this document as well. Okay, so we have something called Docker file. Okay, what is a Docker file? It is nothing but a text file which contains a list of instructions that Docker reads to set up an image. Means if you want to create one Docker image, you should have one Docker file. And this name, Docker file, this name is the standard name. Docker file is a standard term and D should be capital. Okay. So if you want to rename this or if you want to change this is also possible, but always you should specify the name of your file then. If you don't specify, then it will assume as Docker file as the default name only. Okay, so what is a Docker file now? Docker file is nothing but a text file which contains the list of instructions that reads to set up an Docker image. Docker file is used to build Docker images. Means all the images whatever we are seeing in Docker Hub are part of Docker file only. With the help of Docker file only, they have created the image. So now, what type of instructions can we see? Okay, what type of instructions can we see in our Docker file? What type of instructions we can see in Docker file? So we have different instructions. If you remember, we have seen this work dir. Where did we see this?
Inspect.
Volume.
Inspect.
Now let me show this. Okay, here Docker images, Docker inspect, Ubuntu. Let me use Ubuntu. Okay, Ubuntu. Now see something here. Okay, let me scroll up. We have something called CMD. Okay, we have something called CMD, right? So here also in instructions we have something called CMD. Okay, even in instructions we can see something called CMD. It specifies the intended command for the image. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by intended command? This is getting quite complex, right? So do not worry. Ignore this description. Okay, we'll try to make it simple. So we have some instruction called CMD, and here also you can see that CMD, and it is passing some command. Okay, and then we have something called volumes. Here also we have something called volume. Okay, and then we have something called work dir. Here also we have something called work dir. We have something called on build. Here also we can see something called on build. Right? Here we have something called author. Here we have something called maintainer. Both are same. Okay. So with the help of, then we have something called env, entry point expose. Okay. So we have something called entry point, env, and we have expose as well. That's where we can see port number, which port number has been exposed. Let me try to expose to Tomcat because this image is not exposed to any port number. So let me try to inspect Tomcat. Means whatever instructions we are passing, based upon that instructions only, our Docker container is also behaving. Our image is getting created. If you are not exposing your image on any port number, then there is no chance of accessing that, right? See expose port. So all these instructions from where it is getting, from where we are passing these instructions, from Docker file. Okay, from Docker file we are passing all the instructions. So these are some instructions, not some but almost 90% of instructions And these are some very important instructions. If you understand these instructions, then you are okay, or you are good enough to write the Docker file. So in interviews, what they are expecting from you, they will be asking whether you have created Docker file. So what should we answer? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have created Docker file. I have been responsible to creating Docker file from scratch. Whether we did it or not, but we should talk, right? శ్రావణి ఎన్ని అబద్ధాలు చెప్పాలని అనుకుంటున్నావా? చేస్తుంది అబద్ధం పని, సో చెప్తూనే ఉండాలి. ఓకే, సో how does a Docker file looks like? As I said, this is the standard name Docker file, right? So let me try to create one Docker file. Okay, so this is my current location. I'm in the home root location. So docker file. So this is the standard name what we should use for Docker file, capital D and then all small letters. Hit enter. So what is the first instruction we should use? We should use from instruction. Why should we use from? Here if you see this, from where to download the base image, means this particular instruction will help you to download the base image. Means even if you want to create one image, there should be one base image. For example, I want to take one Ubuntu image and configure my own Tomcat. Means I don't want to use the Tomcat image. I don't want to use the Tomcat image. I want to create my own Tom. All the prerequisites like different commands I want to execute inside my control. So I want to create my Tomcat image using Ubuntu. In this case, what I will do, I will tell my Docker file that use the base image called ubuntu:latest. Means it will come to Docker Hub. It will go to Ubuntu. It will go to this repository. It will go to the latest image and it will try to download this image. And inside this image, it will try to customize my requirement. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are trying to tell our Docker file that use this image. Means I'm trying to create one Docker file. Okay, so this is my container, sorry, image. Okay, I'm trying to create my custom image. What will happen, this custom image, first I will tell my Docker file to download one image, for example Ubuntu. Inside this Ubuntu image, I will try to run different commands or different instructions. So whatever is performing, this will be performed in our base image. And if you want to have one base image, you should use from module or from instruction. Okay, and then we have something called maintainer, non-executable instructions used to indicate the author of Docker file. Means if you want to take the ownership of this Docker file, means I am trying to write this Docker file for my project, right? So what I will do, I will try to configure the maintainer name. This is not executable, means you can have this or you cannot have this. That's up to you. This will only help you to know the owner of this Docker file, who has created this. That's it. Okay, so what I will do, I will try to configure the owner, maintainer Techie Horizon. Means I am the owner of this particular Docker file. Spelling mistakes should not be there. Okay, now I want to install Git, for example, run. So we have one module called run module. Why should I use run module? This instruction is used to execute a command on top of an existing layer. Means this instruction will help you to install any dependency or software. For example, inside this Ubuntu image, I want to install Git. This is one Ubuntu image. I want to install Git. So which module I can use, which instruction I can use? Run instruction. Run instruction, what it will do, it will help you to download particular dependencies or softwares. Okay, run apt install it apt-y install git. Okay, so what will happen? It will download the Ubuntu image, it will configure the base, the maintainer name, and then it will try to install Git inside my image. And then I want to copy any file. So we have two different instructions here. We have copy instructions and we have add instruction. Both are similar. Means copy, if this will be asked in interviews, what is the difference between add and copy? This is for sure. So copy module, what it will do, it will help you to copy the file from Docker host image. Means wherever you have installed Docker, from there to your image. Okay, add module, what it will do, it will also help you to copy, but also if you want to download any file from internet, for example, we have that sample.add var, right? So you don't want to copy this file from Docker, you want to directly install or download from internet. In this case, you can use add module. This is the difference. This will be asked in every interview. Difference between add and copy module. So copy module is used to copy the file from the Docker host to the image. Add is to download from the internet. Okay. So what I can do, I can add two more instructions here. Whatever you want as per your requirement. Okay. And then we have one module called CMD and also entry point. This is also very important. Most of the interviews they'll try to focus on these four modules. What is the difference between them? So we have difference between add and copy, and similarly run and CMD. Run and CMD, what it will do? Here you can see run module. This instruction is used to execute a command on top of existing layer. CMD, it specifies the intended command for the image. Unable to understand, right? So ignore this description for now. So run and CMD, these two commands are executables. Note down this point. CMD and entry point, both are used at the runtime of the container. Both are executables at the runtime of the container. These commands will get executed when you are trying to start your container. That's the reason we are seeing here. Okay, let me close this. Docker. Yes, means whatever you are seeing here, right? So this is part of your CMD. When you are able to get this, when you are trying to start this container, whenever you are trying to run the container, right, then only run and CMD will get CMD and entry point will get executed. Both are similar but not same and act as executables commands when running the container. CMD can be overridden, entry point cannot be overridden. We can use multiple CMD, but last CMD will be considered at the runtime. Means only the last CMD will get executed. Okay, so here we have one small example for Docker file. So let me just copy this. This is very easy. We don't have much instructions. We have only 4 instructions. Okay, vi docker file. Let me delete the existing one. And let me save this. So how many instructions do we have? We have 4. One is from, one is run, one is entry point, one is CMD. Maintainer also, if you want, you can add. Let me add maintainer. Maintainer. Take your underscore horizon. Okay. So what I have did, if you'll see this Docker file, I have added 5 instructions. One is to download the base image as Ubuntu. Second is the maintainer name. Third is to update my image. Fourth is entry point, and fifth is CMD. Okay. So these two will get executed at the runtime of the container. This is what I have said, right? So these two when it will get executed at the runtime of the container. So now we have got our Docker file. How to create one image out of this Docker file? How to create image from this Docker file? Which commands can I use? We have the command called docker build -t tag and the name of the image. What name you want to specify? For example, DevOps 07 colon latest means I want my image name to be DevOps 07 and the latest as the name of my image. Okay. So docker build command is used to build the Docker image from the Docker file, and then I should specify the path. So we can pass the path wherever the file is available, you can path, or if you are in the same location, then you can use dot. I'm in the same location, right? This Docker file is in the home location. I'm also in the home location. So I'm using dot. So what will happen the moment I'll execute this? This Docker will go and check for the Docker file, and based upon the instructions, it will try to create one image. So let me hit enter. Kaseri Aman, focus karo ispe. Okay, see what happened? Once I have executed this command, we can see 5 steps has been executed. Step 1 from Ubuntu. How many lines are there? How many instructions are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will execute 5 different steps. So first step what it was there? It was from Ubuntu image, means downloading the Ubuntu image. And this image has been successfully created. Step 2 what was there? Maintainer. The name of the author. It has been successfully created. One more image has been created. And here if you see removing intermediate container. And then again one more container ready. So what is happening? First, the moment I have executed this command, it created one image with this instruction. Then again it overlapped and it has deleted the previous one and it has created one new one. So until and unless it will execute all the instructions, it will keep on creating some images. If something went wrong, then it will stop over there. It will get failed. So these images, whatever images which are getting removed or deleted, these images we call as dangling images. These are temporary images. Okay. So now what happened then? Third instruction also successfully executed. See again it deleted one more container and then entry point deleted, cmd deleted. That's it, successfully built. This is our final image id. Okay, and what was the name given to this image? DevOps 04 latest. Okay, now let me try to use Docker images. Then you can see there is one image called DevOps 07 and the tag is latest, and this is our image id. See, this is our final image id. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so what will happen? We have created our own image now. Now let me try to run my image. How to run? Same process. Docker container run and then image id. I don't want to use -80 and all because nothing is there in my image, right? So I just want to run this image colon latest. Now if you'll remember, let me clear the screen. Cat docker file. Okay, what I said, I have said that we have two instructions, entry point and cmd. These instructions will get executed only at the runtime of the container. Means when I have created this image, these commands have not got executed. When I have executed this image, sorry, docker file, and I have created one image, these commands were not executed. When these commands will get executed only at the runtime of the container. Okay, so now I am trying to run my container. Okay, docker container run, and what was the name? DevOps 07 colon latest, and hit enter. Let me see what is happening. See what is happening now. Entry point. Hello. CMD word. It is showing us the output. So when these two instructions are getting executed,
Runtime.
when running the container only. If you are not running the container, these commands will not get executed. So this is what we were talking in the difference. Okay, both are similar but not same, and both are executable commands when running the container. CMD can be override if we pass other argument. For example, this is one command. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm just trying to use the image name. DevOps 07 colon latest and my name. Sorry, spelling mistake, Docker. So I'm trying to pass one parameter. Docker. Shit, I should not have used -d. Okay. See what happened? Hello Saber. Earlier, what was there? Hello world. But this has been overridden because I have passed one extra argument. So CMDs are overridable. Entry points are not overridable. There is no chance or no option to override entry point. If you want to modify your argument or command at the runtime, then you can use CMD. And also we are talking about we can use multiple CMD, but last one will be considered at the runtime. So let me try to add one more CMD in my current Docker file. Okay, so this is my Docker file, right? CMD. I'm configuring as hello DevOps, means I am having multiple CMDs. Okay, let me save this one. Now let me create one more image because I have updated my image, right? Docker build-t DevOps 07 and the word tag name is v1 and then dot. What this command is doing? This command is trying to create one Docker file with the same Docker file and with the name called DevOps 07 and then tag called v1. Hit enter. So what happened? See, this time it went really fast. Why? Because it is using the cache. If there is no change in the Docker file, right, so it will use the cache mechanism and it will try to speed up your process. So if you don't want to use this cache, then we can use -no cache parameter in your Docker file. If you want, I mean, if there is no change, then you can use same process. Okay, so what happened now? See, one more step, DevOps, it has been created. Now if you'll see Docker images, you can see one more image called DevOps 07 version v1. Now I want to run this Docker. Before running, let me clear. Let me use Docker images. Let me cat Docker file. Okay, now let me run Docker run and then DevOps 07 colon v1. Hit enter. See what is happening now. Now hello DevOps. Where is this world? As I said, the last CMD will only get executed. You can have 10 CMDs, but only the last CMD will get executed. So it has been overridden. These are the three different arguments what we need to inform or what we need to talk in interviews related to the difference between CMD and entry point. Okay. Add and copy. Copy is to copy a file from Docker host to Docker image, and add is to download from image. Clear? So how to run one image? Sorry, how to create one image? Yes, by using Docker build command. What is Docker file? A set of instructions. I have used very limited instructions for now, but hopefully this was very clear for you. So you will be able to create more Docker files from scratch. Okay. So give me 5 more minutes. I will try to wind up this call. I know you guys are pissed off, but that's okay. Okay, now my task is I don't. This is scanning. Okay, I mean my images This is my image which is in my local machine. I want to store this image in the repository, means I want my image in the Docker Hub repository. I want my image in Docker Hub registry so that everyone can access my repository, sorry, my image. So what I can do, I should first go to Docker Hub. Okay, this is my Docker, this is our Docker Hub, right? So I will create one. I will try to first sign up. Okay, so first sign up with your email IDs. Similar to our GitHub accounts, you can see the same interface. Okay, let me click on sign in because my account is already available. I'm not sure about the password. Okay, so this is my account. In this account, I'm trying to create one repository. So let me click on create repository. So I will be using name as techie07. So this is my repository description. Docker images, and then we have two same options, public or private. In project cases, it will be a private repository. Okay, but in our case, I'm using public repository. Okay, create repository. So what I have did, I have created one repository. The name of the account is, this is my account name. This is my repository name. Now I want to store my Docker image in that central repository. Can we use Docker git pull, git push commands? We cannot use them, right? So we should use Docker commands only. So now first what I will do, I will try to change the tag of this repository, means which image you want to push to the central repository. So first you need to change the tag. The tag name should be always relevant to your account name. This is how your image ID should be. Image name should be relevant to your account name, this part. So first I need to rename my image. So I want to rename this image. So how? By using Docker tag command. Okay, Docker tag, and then 0509 is my account ID, and then techie07, right? What was the project name? Techie07 is my repository, latest, and then which image you want to rename. So I want to rename this particular image. Latest. So first we need to rename the image name with your account ID. Hit enter. No such image. Okay, so we need to make these changes. So Docker tag, the image name, and the name of my account. Saber 0509 techie07 latest. Hit enter. Now if I do Docker images, you can see a completely different name, means same image. See, image ID is same, nothing is changed, but the name of this image has been changed. Now I can push this image to my repository. How? With the help of Docker push command. Means in Git we used to configure the origins, right? That's nothing but the address. In Docker we configure the account name and the repository name. Based upon this only, it will go to that particular account. Okay, so Docker push, which one you want to push? I want to push this image, latest, and hit enter. Now it will throw some error, requested access to the resources denied. See, docker.io, my account and my repository. It is trying to connect or push to this particular repository, but access is denied. Why? Because I haven't passed any credentials. So what I need to do, I need to execute Docker login command. This command will help us to pass the credentials. Docker login. So what is your username? So 0509, and then password. Enter the password. Login successful. Now if I'll try to use Docker push, it is trying to push my image to my Docker Hub registry. See, this has been successfully done. If you'll go here, if you'll refresh, Here you can see one image is available latest few seconds ago. If you go to tags, then latest tag is available. Now even if you want to pull my image, right, you can use this command docker pull my account ID, because this is a public repository. That's how we were trying to pull the images from Tomcat, Jenkins, Apache, Nginx. So if I click here latest, you can see similar details, right? See, release, launchpad, all these details, see maintainer name, take horizon, entry point, hello, CMD world. This is what I have written in my Docker file. And same things we are able to see in our account as well. If you click on vulnerabilities, as of now, we don't have any vulnerabilities. Okay. Guys, understood how to push the images to the central repository, Docker Hub registry?
Yes.
There is no change in Tomcat registries and our registries, right? Both are same. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So I will share this document and I will share set of tasks. Go for lunch, be back by 2:15. Okay, and then watch the video again, write down notes, and then start working on task. Without watching video, do not go for task. Chalo guys. If you let me know if you have any questions, or else we'll wind up this call.
No.
No. Okay. Chalo, bye.
Thank you.